All right, let's talk about the wide receivers. There have been a couple different reports around the wide receivers. One that was the Niners really decided 2 hours, like 2:00 in the afternoon on Friday of the draft before round 2, that they weren't going to trade Deebo Samuel. That story came out this week. And then there was one on Ayuk as well that, basically the Niners wanted a mid-first round pick and then some. And, the combination of having to satisfy the 49ers as far as that level of compensation and then turn around and satisfy Ayuk in a contract kind of prevented him from being moved. What was your thoughts when you saw those two stories this week?
Yeah, I mean, duh, was my first thought. Like, yeah, it was Jeremy Fowler that wrote the Niners discussed Deebo on day 2 of the draft. A source said definitively 2 hours before the second round, San Francisco isn't moving him. And then Rap Sheet also added to the Ayuk report you referenced was from Fowler. Rap Sheet again added to it yesterday. Doesn't seem like a trade is in the cards, at least not right now. It never made sense to trade Ayuk for anything other than a big overpay. The one I wanted to get your opinion, I don't think you and I have talked about Deebo. And my question is this: what do you make of that? It seems to me that the risk between letting Deebo rumors get out as they did for 2 days and the likelihood that you actually get anything of value for Deebo, the gap between those two things is massive. I don't understand the motivation for the 49ers to, and maybe they don't want it out, but that's my question. Did they want it out? Did they have any reason that you can think of? Deebo loafed on a crossing route in the Super Bowl. Did they have any reason to make this public information? Because I just have a really, really hard time. First of all, they don't need the money this year. I have a really hard time seeing how anybody would have thought that they'd get anything close to value for Deebo Samuel. So do you think, A, they thought they could get some value for Deebo? B, do they like him as a guy, but they would have taken 85 cents on the dollar for him? Or C, are they trying to send him a message? Or D, something else?
Well, I mean, I guess there's two, there's everything that becomes public. Some of it is because you want it out there, and some of it is just because it got out there, right? I mean, don't you think that it potentially could have gone to some of these reporters through other sources? I mean, yeah, the Niners could have been more stealth or more, demanding of the teams that they were talking to not say anything, but how much do teams pay attention to other teams' wants and desires like that? Like,
so you think the 49ers actually shopped Deebo,
and maybe word got out from the other side.
So then the question is, what did they think they were getting for Deebo Samuel?
Well, that's what I was going to say this about Deebo. He's very much a beauty in the eye of the beholder. I mean, if you take Deebo's greatest moments and the Niners' greatest moments, people watched that Eagles-Niners game was the highest rated game of the year. Everybody saw him go off and take off in that game. He's a tone-setting player also, and he's also a kind of a one of one. So it's like if you like the Deebo player, yeah, you could go be like the Jets and draft Malachi Corley, but there aren't a whole lot of guys like that. So if you're one of these teams that has a quarterback that you don't trust, I mean, Deebo's like the perfect receiver for the team that has a quarterback that they don't really quite trust. Maybe he's too young. Maybe he's not good enough. Maybe he folds in certain situations because he's your wide receiver. He's your wide back. He's your handed off guy. He's your 5 yards of the line of scrimmage, easy completion guy. He's your hitch screen guy. He's your tunnel screen guy. So, I mean, he's your end around guy. So it's like, in some ways, I think they put him out there just to see, is there somebody who's like deeply in love with Deebo that would overpay for a guy who is expensive and has injuries and is of less value every day? So I think they were just floating to see I think it was a combo probably. If they put it out there and wanted it out there, then maybe they're trying to send him a message. He was either hurt or out of shape at the end of the year. I mean, I think he was hurt because he left the Green Bay game.
I think he was hurt.
And I saw him taking his pads off after one of the games and or after one of the practices after that, and he just looked like he was in pain trying to raise his shoulder up. So I think there was a lot of pain in that shoulder. I don't know what it was, rotator cuff, labrum. I have no idea what the shoulder, bone bruise, fracture. He had it all. But so I think he was not 100% in the Super Bowl, and people are judging him harshly. But I think they also maybe wanted to send him a message and also motivate him to be like, hey, you know what? It's this is the business side of things that's coming. And also, dangling the carrot because they're hoping that he has a big year. And also maybe seeing if there was some team out there that's like, I gotta have that piece. And obviously there wasn't that team out there.
My conclusion is what you just said, that they were okay with it getting out because look, Deebo was not really available, but they knew 2 years ago when he was 2 years younger and without a contract, if anybody was interested, right? Jeff Darlington reported Deebo asked for a trade. Surely somebody called the Niners. What would it take to get Deebo?
There's a lot of talk the Ravens have interest. I mean, these teams that love diversified rushing attacks would love him.
I just think they had to have been okay with it getting out, because to even have the conversation takes a major leap of faith from them. You got to be very skeptical when anybody calls, hey, you want to talk about Deebo? Yes, let's talk about Deebo. You're crazy if you think someone's about to offer you a first or a high second round pick for him. So I think they had to be okay with some level of it getting out. The other side of it is this is one of the contenders for a Super Bowl, one of the top contenders to win a championship. You got to know, like, if other teams can leak something that could disrupt your locker room and derail your championship hopes, they may do that, right? So none of it really matters if Deebo shows up ready to go to battle, right? If it's not a disruption in it's not a disruption in the locker room that both Brandon Ayuk and Deebo Samuel thought at some point this year they might be on another team. That's fine, man.
It's really kind of an amazing story when you think about a team inside their Super Bowl window are talking about moving their two perimeter superstars, or at least stars, inside their Super Bowl window, as they're trying to get the thing done, and they haven't done it yet.
With a cheap young quarterback.
Right. And then you draft, a couple of young receivers that look like they're gonna add to that mix and maybe take some snaps away, maybe not. We'll see.